Hello, and welcome to 97.9 Unity Radio. This is our brand new political show called Rebel Republic. I am your host, the best podcast host in the universe, and this is our first attempt at talking politics. Now, we have talked politics on some of our other shows, and our response was so powerful that we were requested to do our own show. And I am not a political expert by any stretch of the imagination. Frank, I believe, leads the charge in that.
Yeah, I'm in the left-hand corner where you can't see me. I'm just hiding a little bit, but that's okay. Here I am. There I am. Thank you so much.
I'll move it back.
Yeah.
We all can be seen. Everyone's happy.
Perfect.
Everyone can be heard. Everyone can be seen.
Yep.
There are no complaints. We're all happy. So this is our first attempt at our political show. And the reason being, we did Moneyline last week, which ended up going 2 hours long. And the second hour was all political talk. And it turned into a firestorm in Worcester over some opinions.
I can't believe it.
And remarks that were made by
impossible.
Frank and Dave. So
me.
Yeah.
I am what am I known as right now today?
You're
the voice of reason.
You're the voice of reason.
Absolutely.
Yes. You're the voice of reason. Okay. So we're gonna do this, and this is my co-host, my cohort, my very hyper conservative.
I'm not hyper conservative. I'm a fiscal conservative. I could give a shit about social issues. I worry about more money in my pocket. I gotta pay my bills.
Frank Cristiano, he wants to pay his bills. That's all.
And I want to just let you know, and I want the public to know, since we're listening, I cannot pay my bills with joy or happiness.
All right.
I went to the bank. They don't take it.
Okay. They don't take it.
Just want to let you know.
All right, Mr. Wells. Mr. Wells, who also joins us for Moneyline, he has decided to jump into the volcano with us on politics. Welcome to Rebel Republic.
Good to be here.
I think, Mr. Wells, wasn't your brother part of the Whig Party back in the 1860s? I think it's something like that. No, he wasn't.
And the smartest man in the room. We have.
It's the only guy who hasn't said anything. That's why he's smart.
Let the smart guy talk.
Former teammate and friend, Jeffrey Larson.
Oh, but it could be just teammate after this. It might not be friend after this. But go ahead, please.
Whose family has experience in politics.
Yes.
Which is why I invited
him
choice as a guest on the show, because I think he will be the voice of reason, and I believe he will definitely. Maybe contrast some of your views and arguments.
I'm the voice of reason,
which is what I want to hear. So
no one can steal my title.
No. I said that he's going to
contrast the voice of reason.
He's going to contrast some of your arguments.
Please,
okay,
please.
So we had the DNC last night.
Well, it's continuing. It's a 4-day process.
They go for 4 days?
They go for 4 days, correct.
Why do they have to go for 4 days?
This is a political show, and the host doesn't know that these conventions go for 4 days.
Well, I explained. I don't know politics.
You don't know politics, but you're hosting. All right,
Jeff,
I like it.
Did you know that it went 4 days?
I did, sir.
You did. Okay. What do they do for 4 days?
Party. What do you think they do, Stephen? There's not a single person there who's paying out of their own pocket.
He doesn't know. Thank you and good night from Rebel Republic. We are done.
So
I did not know that this 4 days.
I don't know there was that much to do.
There's tons to do.
What do they do with their? Okay,
what do they do? They bring up guest speakers.
Yeah,
they bring up.
I know.
They announce all their delegates. Didn't you see last night? Last night the delegates were going crazy.
I just saw that
from the great state of Hawaii. Aloha, manu.
I just saw Chuck Schumer dancing. That's all I saw.
Chuck Schumer always dances. Did you see him at the Puerto Rican Day Parade down in New York City?
He's a good dancer.
Hey, Chuck, we love you. Get the F out of here. You traitor.
Chuck's going to be here till he's 250 years old.
That's ridiculous. It's like all the other. If anything, right now, we talked about term limits and age restrictions. It's got to end at some point.
Yeah, I agree.
They don't represent the center or the multitude of voters in this country. They're too old. The ideas are too old. There's no way that these people should be doing anything but exiting politics and opening up the door for younger people.
Jeffrey, I mean, you have a great political mind, and I definitely hope that you run for office someday. Your opinion of the DNC for the first night? Did they
Well, I'll tell you,
done what they needed
it's
to?
it's the third
Yeah.
night. See,
Third night.
But, but here's the thing. I feel like my family's background, having come from up in Connecticut and now living down in Florida,
Yes.
I've seen a vast spectrum, if you will, politically, and then also, my roots, but then also, active duty United States Army and
Yeah, Jeff
National
served our
Guard. So like,
Yep.
Thank you.
so like, I feel like, like if you think it like I feel like I'm the perfect in the middle where I can, I see,
Correct.
and I hate
Both
to say I see both sides, right? I hate to say that, but like, I feel like we have a lot of work. It doesn't matter what party you subscribe to. I feel like we have a lot of work on to do as a country, and whoever the candidate or the person that gets elected eventually is, it doesn't matter because there's going to be to
A lot of
restore-
roadblocks. Yeah.
Yeah, but like for me, like, and I'll take it back to my military sense of like, you always support, commander in chief. Doesn't matter who it is. Doesn't matter what political party. I think as a country, we've gone a long way away from that. And I, Democrats and Republicans, like we just so divided, and so like I want to get back to a place where, you guys saw my 4-year-old come on the screen. Like I want to be able to say, hey, that's my president right there, and that's the person that leads us, and we're going to follow him because he supports the idea and what we were founded on, and to me that's what I'm looking for in a candidate, and I don't know if we're there on either side, to be honest with you, but
Yeah, right.
Jeff, you messed it up right off the bat. You messed it up. You said
talk to me.
that's my president right there. We're going to follow him. You did not include her. We have a female running for president in this election.
You're right. And to the candidates, I apologize for that. But like,
That's okay.
Whoever the candidate ends up being, I just want it to be somebody. And
yeah,
and I can,
whoever they them are. Here's
those are pronouns, right? That they them.
It's got to stick to somebody.
Oh, okay.
There's multiple people. Remember, there's a presidential candidate and a vice presidential candidate.
So
they them.
When they do the gender thing, I always list I'm non-binary. What does that mean?
You know what? I'm totally lost at a lot of this stuff right here. I think non-binary, you don't identify as anything. You're an amoeba.
Is that really what
I think so. You don't identify as male or female.
You are like neutral.
I am evaporated air.
I put that because I thought it helped me get jobs, because maybe there's non-binary, makes you a minority. I don't know. I thought it would.
You would not classify as
non-binary.
No.
Okay.
And so like,
hey, we need this guy to work on power lines. Are there any non-binaries in the room?
Okay. So, all right, it was the third night of the DNC. Okay, Mr. Wells. Overall, I'll say, since it's the third night, overall, what would your opinion be of the DNC and how it is gone?
Well, like the Republican one, it's a pep rally is what it is. Okay, they're bringing all these speakers. I mean, Bill Clinton's going to speak tonight. And, they had Obama the other night. I mean, that's what this is. This is a pep rally. So when everybody leaves the Chicago by the end of the week, you got to go back and rally the troops in your state and get everything done and da-da-da-da-da. That's what this is. And you asked earlier, what are these people doing? Let's say tonight after midnight.
Days, yeah.
I mean, are they sitting down and working? It's a big party. I mean,
but here's
you think
my thing is this.
I don't know.
I think they've really knocked the enthusiasm level out of the park. I think they've done a fantastic job so far at promoting themselves, promoting the party, promoting the candidate, promoting the cause. It's more of a cause. Here's the cause. Anybody but Trump, which I understand. Anybody but Trump.
Well,
makes total sense.
Yeah,
but you got to realize something. Me personally, if I'm looking at this, I'm looking at it as, and they brought on pop stars, they brought on rappers, they brought on actors and actresses. They've done the gamut of
Hulk
visible.
Hogan was the best. Just
Hulk Hogan is an afterthought. It's
Hulk
a
Hogan
laughable.
was the best.
Hulk Hogan is a laughable.
RNC.
It's a laughable.
He tore his shirt.
As the WWE is fake, so was that presentation. It was fake. Okay, but I didn't say the F word. I said WWE.
Fake is the F word.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay, I'm going to get bleeped out for that. Okay, so listen, what I'm saying is right now, the DNC to me feels like I went to a concert, the greatest concert I have ever seen. I enjoyed it so much. I loved it. I want to go to see that performance again.
So it's like Metallica.
But then I walked out and I realized somebody stole my wallet.
So you went to a Metallica concert?
Any concert, man. What I'm saying is in the front, it is unbelievably fantastic.
Sure.
But when you exit and you get back into the real world, you realize, bottom line, they're still talking about what politicians talk about, and that's taking your money.
Yeah.
Can you imagine where this was possibly headed a month and a half ago? And now Biden steps aside. Now it's like a breath of fresh air that they got here.
It would have been your drunk uncle who talks about himself and hands out money to the little kids all the time, and a guy who's drooling in a wheelchair. That would have been
going to a wake.
I think the best thing they did. Now I don't like how they went about it. I don't
That's
like the
what
process.
I was going to ask Jeff
go ahead then. Ask him first. Go ahead.
Yeah, Jeff, because there was no voting involved in picking the Democratic candidate. I don't know the policy or if there would have been a way to do it, to have the states vote on another primary and who they wanted to represent them, delegates to make a decision.
They could do it at this convention.
Well, it
could be done at this convention.
Okay. But the people wouldn't get to vote. You think the people,
the delegates represent the people?
Correct.
Well, let's go back to the primaries.
Vote so the delegates know who to pick.
Right, but you can't redo a primary anymore. Yeah. But at least you can do the delegates can reaffirm their vote.
Right.
That they've switched, which in theory they've done this now by announcing their support for Kamala Harris and Walz. So I understand.
Jeff, what was your thoughts on
through the whole thing, right? Like when stepped down, right? I feel like it was about 2 days where the Democratic leaders came together and they're like, okay, what are our options? What can we do? And like when you start to weigh it, at that time I think there was like 105 days until the election, right? And there was people that proposed, and like you said, you could do it you could have like nominating and like, but I think what the Democrats they were game planning, right? They were like, okay, what is our best chance here, right? You have
that's right,
Kamala Harris, who everybody knows and has seen, right? Like if you start to, the governor, you take Newsom from, sorry, hey Brittany.
That's all right. Bring it in, baby. Bring it in. We need it. We need more voices.
Okay? Sorry. So, like, you take like Governor Newsom from California, or Klobuchar from Minnesota, or all these different people like named, like they don't necessarily have the national exposure, and then you'll have the delegates say, "Hey, we didn't have a chance to vote on this," and I think that's where, if there's any remorse still or anger, anger still towards like President Biden. Is that he did step down so late and kind of took people's hands, but I think the Democrats now will say that the movement and the passion of young voters coming out and responding to this is, and I think to a sense of, I believe you said it before, is that I think people were so angry with the two choices when another candidate emerged, it generated a lot of excitement and momentum, and that's exactly what you see going on here in the DNC, Steve, is this momentum that the Democrats want to build. And I watched a couple different times. To me, both. I watched the RNC and I watched the DNC, and I try to look for some substance. What I feel is that like I get irritated when I see like the old guard and just kind of the repetitive things that they talk about. Like I just want to hear what I think you said it before, right? About like the money in my pocket. Like I want to know what's going to change? What's going to be different? Why should I vote for you? And
Absolutely.
It gets a little bit redundant. But don't get me wrong. Like when, Barack Obama spoke, I thought Michelle Obama did really well yesterday. Barack Obama, I feel like when he comes out and speaks publicly, he does a fantastic job too. So, I think there's keynotes that I were impressed with, and same on the on the Republican side. Like Steve, I don't care what anybody says. I grew up in the '80s, so whenever the Hulk comes out, I get the juice flowing. But and it's a charade a little bit, having all the different people come out. But I just look for substance.
If I could ask a question, here's the thing: I thought Michelle Obama might have been the wild card and have been picked to be the choice.
Yeah, Frank thought
candidate.
she would
I thought
run.
that was the eventual, and I thought the kicker, although legality would have stepped in the way, probably. I thought the kicker was they could announce her as the presidential candidate, and her husband Barack Obama could be the vice presidential candidate.
Yeah,
there is a way. There is a way legally. Yeah. So I just want
to. You run into problems of how do you at that point? Yeah, we also we said it like that'd be awesome, right? But I think where you run into problems is then how do you look at the current sitting?
Got you.
Vice president and say, hey, sorry, step over you. I know you've been doing the job for 4 years, but we're going to step over you and bring somebody else in that nobody has voted for. You could
Jeff,
say that
they've been stepping over her. They've been stepping over her for 3.5 years, Jeff. They've been stepping over her.
Maybe, but think about the legality of it. Like they voted for the Joe Biden ticket in the primary, right? And so they could legality of we actually did vote for Kamala because she was on the ticket.
Yeah, but do you mean legality? Does legality mean money, Jeff? Because all that money that they would have had to possibly return, most likely return, as far as the campaign funds that were contributed to Joe Biden would vanish. And I think that again. I'm like a lot of people that say, if you want to find out the real truth, just follow the money. And I think that was the biggest factor in putting Kamala Harris as the candidate is because of the money. No other way, because you can't. You can see social media.
I think it's because she checks all the boxes. That's why I think they put her as a candidate. I don't think it's money. I mean, they can get the money to anyone they want to. She checks the boxes. She checks the boxes of how you're going to attack her. You know what I mean? She got 0% of the vote in the last
right.
The Democrat.
But that's how you attack her, Dave. You attack her with her record. She has nothing of substance to prove. Right, and that's where the Republican Party is making the mistake right now. It's not about attacking the person. It's about, again, we talked about keeping money in our pockets. Attack what she's done and what her running mate has done too.
Yes.
I mean, what has her running mate has done? He let a city and a state burn down.
Well, he was in Minnesota. It was a tough situation.
I think the key is her. I think the key is to attack what she has not done or what she was supposed to have done and has not done, and to focus on those things. I agree 100% on the initial stuff where what her nationality is, or whether she's Indian or African American or both. I don't think that's highly irrelevant. It's who cares?
She flip flops. That's all. I think that's all Trump was trying to point out. She flip flops to get votes. Whatever she needs to throw out there to get votes, that's what she does.
Well,
but so does every politician.
And I would say this too, though, is what you're all saying is, and I would say that neither side does this, right? Is talk about policy, talk about what you're going to do in office, and because if spent more time focusing on what has gone wrong in the last 4 years of this administration, right, and how he's going to change and deliver on a better whatever that is, right? I think he would have more ground. But I feel like Donald's, the way that he's always attacked campaigning has been there. I can just attack the person, and I could sell I don't have to. I'm a businessman. I don't need to do this. I make millions of dollars. I could go somewhere else, but I'm doing this because. You know what I mean? So,
isn't in a perfect situation, Biden announces a year ago he's not going to run.
Right.
And then Kamala and whoever got to go through all those primaries where she would get a chance along with everybody else. Who knows how that would have played out if she'd have had to run that gauntlet?
She would have lost. She would have lost.
Defeated.
That's right. Lost. And Donald Trump be sitting there licking his chops, saying, "Hey, you know."
It all depends. Maybe they find a better candidate than Kamala Harris. Someone with a record. Someone maybe a senator, or a governor who has done a fantastic job with their state.
Right. But you almost have more people behind you too, because the people have had their say. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
give me 2 seconds.
I think the Democrats would get behind. They get behind her. You know, it says Democrat. It doesn't matter if it was a widget that was out there running for
anybody but Trump.
And they would get behind it because it's not Trump. It's not Trump to them. That's exactly right. It's not Trump to them. And the whole thing is we can put any candidate out there. Obviously, Biden was losing it. That's why they basically pulled the cord on him. But if that wasn't the case, they could probably. But I think Kamala obviously is. By the way, I'm going to screw up her name, so you're going to get emails.
You caught yourself though. That's good. You are learning.
Give me 2 seconds, Dave. I wanted to introduce you. This is a good friend and former teammate of mine, Jeff Larson from UConn.
Hello, Jeff. How you doing?
What's up, bud?
Jeff's family is involved in politics in Connecticut, and he's the smartest man in the room. So I had to invite him on because to be the voice of reason. To be the voice of reason.
I thought I was the voice of reason.
I was the voice of reason.
I thought you were the voice of reason, Frank.
Jeff, I just want you to.
We're not the voice.
Last week we.
Oh man, what happened?
I don't know. I'm demoted again.
If these two guys, Frank and Dave, visited Worcester, Massachusetts, they would probably get shot right now.
Throw a party for it would be a huge.
They would have the best time ever with me and Frank. I guarantee it.
You know why? We'd rent out. Where's a good place in Worcester?
We'll get the banner.
The banner. Right. We'll go in there. We'll rent it out, and we will just throw a bender.
Yeah,
it'll be. We won't even call it a GOP. It'll just be an OP bender. We'll take the G right out of it. All right. Listen. Wait a minute.
Cully, what if you did the?
Everybody's welcome. Everybody's welcome.
We don't care.
You did the football field on top of at Holy. You know how it's all the way at the top? Do it up there.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
Jeff, just so you know, we had a comment last week that asked if Frank thought he was the King of England from the Revolutionary War. Someone compared him to King George. They said he sounded like King George from the Revolutionary War.
Wait a minute. What's wrong with that?
You want to be King George?
What's wrong?
Without representation.
We need representation.
Nobody liked King George.
I don't want your taxes. I want to give money back to the people. My thing is there may be a governing body. Maybe I could be like the NCAA of politics. I'll just delegate some rules, throw some cash around, and everybody's going to love me.
Oh, I agree.
Right?
Yeah. And Jeff, Dave caught some flack because he was calling Kamala a few times. And Kamala used to be a wrestler.
And slapping his belly.
In the
WWE.
In the WWE a few times.
Cully, was that the wrestler that used to blow the smoke? Like from the
No. He was called the Ugandan Giant.
Yes. He had his face all painted up like an African warrior.
What was his finishing move?
He used to just do a splash. The guy that used to do the mist was a Japanese guy.
Yeah.
But like you're talking about spit mist? Yeah.
Something, yeah.
There was a Japanese
That was Mr. Fuji, wasn't it? Mr. Fuji?
Well, there's several guys who did it.
So he's a wrestler too, though. Yeah, he was a manager, but he wrestled as well. Mr. Fuji started as a wrestler.
He did.
Ended up being a manager. Yeah.
He did. He was so good, but they kept him.
Yeah, a manager.
I'm also, reading an article here. Trump had a reaction after Obama gave his speech.
Sure.
He spoke about it and he gave his opinion. Jeff, I don't know if you saw this or not. What were your thoughts on Trump giving his views on Obama?
I didn't see it, but I thought I saw like a clip of like where didn't he compliment him? He said that. Go ahead, say it, Steve.
No, you're right. He did. He was a lot more positive than people expected.
Right. Yeah.
And that's surprising. That's kind of surprising.
He must have been running a fever or something. That's probably what it was. He wasn't feeling too good.
It's surprising that he did that, but he did compliment Obama.
I think Barack Obama is regarded, right? And remember, Barack Obama is the one that had to welcome Donald Trump into the White House when he won.
He did.
Right? And so I think there's a mutual, somewhat of a Barack
respect.
Yeah, but like I feel like Donald has President Trump, I should say, respect for the office and for Barack Obama.
Right. Frank, what were your thoughts?
My thoughts are, that's why there's the mutual respect.
I voted for Obama.
Barack Obama is a rock star. I have to say that. When he walks into the room, people melt.
He commands attention. Yeah.
Donald Trump wants to be a rock star. He thinks he's a rock star. Now he is by his. Those rallies are incredible, and what he does.
He's a rock star.
Trump
give me one sec.
Go ahead.
He did call him Barack Hussein Obama.
I know, and that's Trump's problem. That's his middle name. But he's always trying to tie it into something, right? There's always a ploy by what his verbal.
Yeah. You're right.
Barack is not a threat to Trump. That's the bottom line. Barack is not a threat.
I disagree. Barack is a total threat to Trump because Barack is running the behind-the-scenes operations of the DNC with Nancy Pelosi. Yeah. You can see that right now because after two meetings, Joe Biden is an afterthought.
Well,
he had to, and they told him get out, and that's why right now, they're not even Pelosi and Biden are even on speaking terms.
Obama is crafty. Obama is a fantastic orator.
Yes.
Yeah. He's charismatic.
Yeah,
he's charismatic.
He's crafty. He's charismatic. I didn't like his policies, but I understand why people would have voted for him off of basically his charisma. He's charismatic. A lot of things were but Barack Obama, from what he promised in the first term to when he got to the second term, when it actually happened, completely two different things, and that's where I really lost more respect for what Obama was. That he was more fluff than substance on a lot of these things, and then and then over time has really kind of he's not personally out front working the party more to the left, but he makes sure he supports it in that nature. And
that's right.
Crafty from that standpoint. Clinton is crafty too.
Yes.
Bill, I'm talking. His wife is, I think, I'm not a fan of hers, but I would say intellectually brilliant, but not crafty like Bill is. Bill is very smart but crafty, and so they're able to do things where now I think they, from the DNC standpoint, that's why they got in the thing with Mrs. Harris, that they basically they're going to waltz her out there because they feel like they got everything going on in the background. They just need someone to read the teleprompter.
Right. That's how they do it.
Show some personality when you read a teleprompter, and don't get into any one-on-one interviews or one-on-one where you get challenged.
Mr. Wells,
Dave. Clinton is the craftiest mother effer that there was ever in office. He was getting Hummers in the office. You have to be crafty. You have to be smart.
He got caught, I guess.
Well, he did get caught, but that was more of a dry cleaning issue than anything else. I blame Chinese. Probably the dry cleaning. The Chinese didn't do it right. That's all.
We would think a lot different about Billy if he didn't get caught. That's the bottom line.
No, he played saxophone.
I was a Democrat back then. I was a Democrat. I was just finishing college. I was definitely someone that enjoyed Clinton. I feel like when I started working and now obviously I have a family now, but I started to realize that a lot of the Democrat policies were not things that I agree with. That's why I changed parties in the early 2000s and became first I really became an independent, and then I think the Democrat Party. My father says it this way all the time. He didn't leave the Democrat Party. The Democrat Party left him. They kept moving farther and farther to the left on things. And and that's really weird. I don't feel like I changed that much overall, other than maybe I work and I make more money. I want to keep some of that money that I make.
Right. You feel the party change.
So comedian Shane Gillis makes a great point. Shane actually says that as you get older, you become more Republican. You know, is that kind of correct in a way? As you get older, when you're young, you're full of testosterone.
Well, you're idealistic and energy,
and you think you want to save the world, right? And then
I did.
This is what happens to politicians.
I wanted to give my money away and help everyone.
You said how Obama changed from the second administration. You could see how Clinton maybe towards the end.
Bush did too.
Bush, all of them. I don't say Democrat or Republican. I'm saying every politician that goes in with great hope and great spirits, because they're going to change the world. Once they get in, they realize the money is too great, and their votes only count to a certain segment of donors and lobbyists. So bottom line, they end up getting corrupted by cash. They take the cash and they end up sinking as far as their enthusiasm for helping people instead of helping themselves.
Well, it's a good old boy system to the nth degree down there. There's no question about that.
Jeffrey, let me ask you, because you mentioned the former first lady. She kind of went a little hard at Trump, and she argued that, quote, it's his same old con, doubling down on ugly, misogynistic, racist lies as a substitute for real ideas and solutions that will actually make people's lives better. Do you think she is on point there with some of that she said, or do you think it was more of a personal attack on Trump? Or do you think just because it's the convention, she's trying to get people fired up?
I think it's a combination of it all, Steve. I think it's very calculated. I think it's very, for every point that's made, there's a piece of truth to it, and an absolute zinger and a way to capitalize on things. I also think that again, both sides will play to their base and what's going to get them excited, right, and get them to come out. But more so, like, if I flipped it the other way, like, what would the Donald Trump supporters say about that? And where do I find, if I'm a voter, where do I find the truth in that? How do I make a decision? You're right. You guys have all said it. You guys have all said it tonight of like, well, okay, the Democratic Party has, put a candidate out there that didn't really follow the process to get there. And then we know all the background on with Donald Trump and all the things that have happened with him. And right, you're as a person, average Joe going to the poll, how do I make any kind of sense of this and say, okay, I'm going to vote for her or I'm going to vote for him, and how can I feel confident in doing so? I feel like that's also the reason why this country's so
No, you're right. It is the reason why it's dysfunctional.
I think you're going to see 4 years from now, right? And I hate to say that, but like 4 years from now, when Donald Trump, Joe Biden, either way, however this plays out, are no longer involved in the process, where do we go as a country? And that's what I'm ready to see. I'm ready to see it now, but that's what I'm looking forward to.
Coach Schuman, what are your thoughts on the comments? And I want to know from everyone, why is it so hard to get young, new blood in office in all positions, not just the presidency, but the Congress and the Senate? Why has it been so difficult for that?
Well, I think, that's two different questions. First of all, I think it's Michelle Obama has zero experience other than being the wife of the president. So I take what she says with a grain of salt. Not that grain of salt. Other people listening, it's. Listen, at least Hillary became senator before she, was running for president, right? Like she went through the process somewhat, okay?
Right.
She didn't just say the wife of the president. And here's what I think of this person. Like, I mean, I just think it's nonsense. But she has a right to say whatever she wants. That's her prerogative. I think she goes to the opposite extreme. I think she has been tasked to go to the opposite extreme. Bring up the race card with Trump. For what reason?
Really?
It's ridiculous. Trump, as far as from a policy standpoint, whether you disagree with what he does or, our economy was a lot better. Listen, if it wasn't for COVID, he would have won in a landslide in that next election. And that the COVID was his undoing, and that was his undoing because anybody who was in that position was going to be in a tough situation. Okay, you would have really, really needed to be Winston Churchill to be able to pull that kind of out. But I think that as far as getting new people in, I think you are if you could argue that JD Vance is a new on the Republican side is a newer blood, you could argue the same thing on the Democrat side,
right?
With Kamala. It's absolutely you can, because she's obviously a newer person. So there are newer people going. I think the thing is, in any situation, in any industry, you have an old guard that's been in there for a while and is established and had.
They don't want to give up their spots.
Why would you?
Too much money.
Yeah.
Why would you? Yeah. So they're reluctant. It takes time to push it out, but I think that you will have that happen, and obviously, it's going to continue. And I actually think the president's more irrelevant on that aspect of it. I think the president leads the country in a direction one way or the other, but as far as getting new blood in and people wanting to, AOC is, I don't like AOC and what she stands for, but AOC is new blood in the Democrat Party, and you could point to, Republicans. Listen, I thought the only mistake that I thought that Trump made in his choice as vice president, even though I like JD Vance, is he should have taken Tim Scott. I love Tim Scott. Tim Scott is again a younger person who is rising up and in the Republican Party, and I thought he would have been a perfect fit.
Dave, he's too white, Dave.
Weapon?
He's too white.
Who?
Tim Scott. Yeah.
He's an African American who's too white.
My father thought
when you're looking at it,
from poverty.
I understand completely.
In Deep South, I
agree with you.
Think that's crazy.
As a liberal voter, as a young voter, as a far left, or even
you think you can think as a young voter?
I can think as a young voter right now because I'm the voice of reason. Steve, shut the hell up. Now listen, I'm telling you right now, they would look at Tim Scott as an Uncle Tom. They would look
Uncle
at
Tom.
Absolutely.
Come on, no way.
Yes, they would.
Listen, African American men that are towards the. I'm not talking about people that are the far left. That you're not going to maybe change them. I'm talking about independent voters, okay, middle of the road, maybe Democrats, maybe slightly to the right Republicans. Those men look at Tim Scott, and I think they see a potential hero. It doesn't mean that they're going to become Republicans because Tim Scott is there, but Tim Scott is someone to be admired. He listen.
Oh, I don't know his story. Okay.
Yeah, this is a guy who grew up in poverty. This is a guy who rose himself up.
Who's the African American doctor that ran for president and then Donald Trump put him on his cabinet?
Carson.
What's his name? Ben Carson. That's who they look at when they see Tim Scott.
No, they don't. No way. He is not Ben Carson.
That's what they look at. I'm telling you right now, because you can see it right now. The African American community, especially men right now, will be the largest swing vote from 2020 to 2024 towards Donald Trump.
They would have voted more if Tim Scott was there because they could identify with somebody.
No, they identify with Trump because
they do identify with Trump, and they identify with Tim Scott too.
He has beaten the man. He has beaten the law. He has beaten the courts. He got shot and still survived. He is the 50 Cent of politics. They identify with that, and that's who they're going to vote for.
So wait, so what you're telling me that is an African American? Obviously, we're going to have to get an African American conservative on the panel, or maybe middle of the road on here.
Yeah, help me out. I'm too white.
It would help. But you're telling me that they're not going to look at what Tim Scott has done in his career and say that guy is somebody to be admired?
If it's an African American man in their 50s who is a higher up in business, right? Yes, I agree with that. Okay. If it's a 25, 26-year-old African American man and looking at Tim Scott, he's a joke.
All right, I'm going to jump in here.
No way. No way.
What is
I bet you all of Unity Radio would agree with me. There might be some people that
we need a poll. I want to poll out right now on Unity Radio, 97.9 Unity Radio. I would like a poll. I would like everyone to send in their
send it in.
Get them, don't worry.
And I want to know: is Tim Scott a joke at vice president, or do you? No, not a joke. Let me take that back.
He's not a vice president. JD Vance is vice president.
Right. No, but I'm saying, if Tim Scott, would you have more respect for Tim Scott or JD Vance?
Mr. Wells,
listen. Over the next 3 months, who are you going to vote for? You're voting for who the vice president choices? No,
doesn't matter.
It
does matter a little bit.
They don't know the background of these people. They could care less.
Thomas Jefferson.
This is Kamala versus Trump. Period. End of story. And I wonder.
Sorry.
What
it is now because of who she decided to choose as her vice president. She didn't try to bring in a swing state situation. She brought in Walt.
Dave, she chose nothing. She chose nothing. That was the DNC picking it for her. She chose nothing.
So
that was the DNC party. She has nothing.
Okay.
She is the face right now. She is what Biden was 3.5 years ago. Someone that was there to stop the bleeding.
Stop and think where Kamala was a month ago. Okay.
Right.
Oh my God.
Right.
It might be the next president of the United States. And I'm going to listen to the people that are running the Democratic Party. Because as you said before, the money. She, quote, inherits Biden's treasure chest.
The war chest.
You don't think they're sitting around the table at the DNC, the 5 or 6 wigs that control that, and they're like, hey, we need a vice presidential candidate who's really good. And listen, I got a ton of respect for Shapiro. He's done a fantastic job with Pennsylvania. Hillary Clinton. Stop that train right away and get off of that, because that will hurt us in the voting because of what's going on now in the Palestinian. Sure, they do. Steve,
the big
when all of America and all of Unity Radio wakes up and starts to realize that they are not there for you.
They're not.
They are not voting for you. They're not supporting you. The politicians are not there for you. They are there for themselves. If you want to support a politician, support your local politician.
So basically,
support somebody on a small level who's going to have some sort of impact on your everyday life.
So I should move to Cuba.
Wait, so you don't think Trump is? So you think neither presidential candidate is there for the people?
Absolutely.
Listen, I think
Trump is there for the people.
All right,
I think Trump is there for the popularity. Now, granted, the policies people. I think Trump is there for the. I think Trump loves Trump.
Yeah,
I'm a Republican. I vote Republican.
He loves being on stage.
Trump loves Trump. That's okay.
I didn't say that he wasn't. I'm not saying he isn't somebody that is self-involved, but you could be self.
I do think he is there for the people.
And still be there for the people. I mean,
no, I think he's very good with the people. I do think he. Let me take that.
I know
he
enjoys.
I think he cares about his constituents, the ones that support him.
Right.
Okay. I think he does want to help others that do not support him to maybe see the light in his view. All right. But I do think that bottom line, after a certain point, there's a cutoff, and it is what it is. You're either with me or you're not with me.
Right.
And I think the policies are going to reflect more still what Christian values are in there, because a lot of that's thrown in there. And that's okay. That's what your angle is. That's fine. Also, conservative values, which are good because I'm part of that party too. I agree. But I think it's going to reflect a lot of that, but it's not going to reflect individually on people. How am I going to help? Yes, he says the average guy, but a lot of that stuff, it doesn't come to fruition.
Jeffrey, first I want to start with you on this whole Tim Scott discussion. What are your thoughts on Tim Scott as a potential VP? Did they miss the boat on not bringing him on? Does his story resonate with people enough that he could have helped the ticket and they missed out?
I think I'm gonna actually answer here, and I'm gonna say no. I don't think they missed out. I think,
Okay.
but to your point, I do think that there is a story there that people can buy into.
Right.
They have a ton of people uh, weighing each candidate and the benefit, right? And all the things you were saying about like Shapiro and Scott, right? Like there's people that are like weighing that and saying, okay, well we're gonna win South Carolina, so we don't got to worry about that. So let's pick somebody in your state that's gonna help us, right? Whatever that factor is, they got people doing it. What I want to say is, um, I think no matter what candidate wins this election, we as a country are still divided.
If not
I
more.
don't think that's going to change. Period.
Well, I think you have the in relatives up north and everything. Like I think when you come back to a little bit back to the middle in the next election, hopefully that you have somebody like a moderate or a moderate Democrat, either way, right, where people can cross the lines and come in, right, and say, okay, I can get
And
back.
bring people together.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
like that's why like at the beginning of this race, like before Donald Trump, Joe Biden were the candidates, and like you had DeSantis was in the race, Nikki Haley was in the race. I said, I was like, if any candidate but Trump, and this goes back to your point earlier, right? But if any Republican candidate but Trump gets nominated, they'll win in a landslide. And
I think you might be been right on that. I think you might be
Wow.
right on that.
Really?
I don't know. I disagree.
My initial thoughts maybe were that was the case. I remember my initial thoughts were when Biden was running initially, and just because it was going to run again, and to retain the office initially, I thought, wow, if any of these kind of Republicans who are like a Nikki Haley,
My father loves Nikki Haley. I know.
Well, I don't agree with all of their stuff, but like I kind of lean much more to what Trump kind of what his policies are. But I will admit, like I do think that like there's quite a few candidates I thought could have run. Like I thought DeSantis, yeah, I think they did.
Yeah.
They hacked up DeSantis in the Republican Party purposely.
And it seemed like he dropped out early too.
Would have trounced Biden. I think it would have trounced Biden. Now Biden's no longer in the race, but you probably would have had Biden out of the race a lot earlier because.
But I think that they're saving DeSantis for 28.
But the only way that theory stands correct that any Republican may would win in a landslide is if the Trump base voters would support
another,
and maybe they don't vote at all. Maybe they're so pissed that their guy's not there. I'm telling you,
you could be right.
When they say it's a cult following, it's a cult following. I love the guy.
It's very
all right. I love the guy. Here's why I love the guy.
Passionate.
I'm loyal. When he was a liberal and when he was on the talk shows and when he was hanging out with Al Sharpton, he was hanging out with Jesse Jackson and he was doling out money to everybody. It was a party and everybody loved him.
He hosted two WrestleMania.
Everything. WrestleMania. He was everywhere. He did The Apprentice. People loved him. They played out the doom, 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 money, 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 money. Everybody loved it. So now, all of a sudden, he runs Republican and he says, hey, abortion and this and that. And now people all of a sudden hate him.
Right. That's just the media. That's the media.
Right. No, but the media sways a huge percentage of the voting population because after a while, it's a mental. It's almost I don't know what they call it. It's Pavlov's dog. After a while, you've had enough training, right? You know who to hate. So
I agree with that.
My thing is, I think that those Trump voters are so loyal to their candidate because he speaks their language, that they would just abstain from voting.
Right.
And that would give the Democratic Party a win.
Jeff, I also wanted to ask you about this because Mr. Wells mentioned it. During the election and when Super Tuesday happens, how much do you think the vice president matters? How much do you think the running mate counts? Do you think it makes that big of a deal who the running mate is when people go into polls and vote?
No, I think that decision is made a long time before. I think where the vice president candidate matters is right now when you are trying to gain momentum and people start to see, oh yeah, I could see myself backing that person, right? Or when you're trying to catch key swing states, right? But I also think it matters. Like you'll have a vice president, right? And people see the character between those two, and then it may influence a little bit. But like the momentum's already there, and whether you're going to vote for him or not, I think in the long run, the vice presidential candidate really doesn't. When you get down to vote, it's already decided before they go in.
Yeah.
But it's all momentum and the different things they do to get up to that point.
But how sadistic is the vice presidential position? Bottom line, you're looking at a guy and you're saying, yeah, Trump gets whacked. I'm okay with JD Vance going back in there. Basically, that's the only status they need to have is a guy. Because bottom line, if you're being picked as a vice presidential candidate, I would assume you're on the same platform as the president. If not, why would he take you?
So, Mr. Wells, I'm going to put you on the spot with a difficult question.
After the Civil War, Mr. Wells,
Tim Walz is going to speak tonight because dozens were arrested because of the anti-Israel protests. More than 70 anti-Israel agitators were arrested during the second night of the DNC because there was violence and a lot happened throughout Chicago. Chuck Schumer condemned the anti-Semitism during his speech. And of course, Barack Obama and Michelle Obama did as well. Do you think this is just crossed the line and getting out of hand? You know, with someone taking a shot at Trump and now these violent protests outside of the DNC for the Israel-Hamas thing?
Well, this Israel-Hamas thing is not going away.
I know it's not.
Okay.
I wish it
so either way, the United States chose to back whoever. And let's face it, they've
always been with Israel.
They've always been. All right. He can say all they want about Netanyahu and everything else, and trying to settle peace over there. Either way that this all happened, this was they're going to be protesters. It's bound to happen. So I don't think the security people at Chicago were caught off guard. They knew it was going to happen. Okay. So
they were ready for it.
They were ready. I mean, look at it.
The Democrat Party allows it. They want it.
You think they wanted the?
Listen, the Democrat Party as first of all, the Republican Party is they're the only party that's been backing Israel the whole entire time against the terrorist Hamas. So call it exactly what it is. Terrorists. That's what they are.
No, exactly. Yeah.
And so they're
not very nice.
Are if our Biden, I guess, was as the lame duck president, was not really taking the situation by storm. He kind of half backs the situation. Half condemns the situation. I think that I think it's crazy to think that Hamas wants peace. That's nuts to think that they want any peace. They're absolutely terrorists. Okay, and if you give them, if they somehow it gets to a point where they have some level of a truce or peace. I mean, Trump had the Abraham Accords, which got everything under control in the Middle East. As soon as Biden comes in, people just repeatedly test the waters and
they think they can try them. Yeah, I agree.
That's all that ends up happening, and then you get the resulting situation that you have here, and it's to me flat out like absurd. I mean,
we're gonna have a lot of nice shorts.
Dave. So I got to Democrats. No, wait a minute. Democrats love Jewish money, but they hate Jewish ideology. They do not like Jews.
That might be a fair statement.
I don't understand.
Democrats love Jewish money.
Jewish.
You can see it right now in higher education. These higher education universities love the donations, but they hate the people.
So what you're saying is they're placating, right? So you're saying they basically they are. If I'm reading it kind of correctly, you're saying, hey, they say
thank you for your money.
They can get their donations. They can get the support from the Jewish community, and when it comes down to supporting them, when it becomes a situation that basically you got to make a real decision here, they kind of stay. They stay. I think there may be something to that in the sense that it may not be as overt as exactly as
it's like a person you think that's your friend. So you think he's your friend. In public, you shake hands, you kiss, you hug, you love each other. What a great guy! Yeah, then he goes behind your back and says, "That guy is an asshole." That's what it is.
I think that is fair. Say, right? I think that is fair. And they to me, it's no different than what they do with. So they take advantage of the situation because Jewish population has voted traditionally Democrat, right, since like FDR and obviously going back to the Holocaust, and they voted Democrat in general in larger numbers.
Right.
It's the same way that Democrats take advantage of the African American population in a different capacity, different way, but they voted for them. The Democrat Party and
because they want to help them, Dave. I spoke to a leader in the Jewish community here in my city, my town, and I asked him these questions. And I say, how can you vote Democrat?
You're right.
After the turn you've seen, and you've seen it more than just this time. It's happened across history, sure. Just as the Arab-Israeli conflict has happened across history. That will never end. But I asked him, how do you vote Democrat year after year after year, and seeing what the support you get no support. And he goes, bottom line, a lot of a lot of Jewish people are just want to help. They feel emboldened to help African Americans, emboldened to help.
That's nice.
Right. They are the giving community. It's almost like a guilt that they have to help.
So they would open the doggy daycare.
Listen, let's stay on point right here. It has nothing to do with Rebel Republic. Dogs have their own place on the show. We will do a podcast about animals when we get a chance. This is Rebel Republic. We are talking politics here.
I know. I got to get Jeff in.
Please get him in. Get him in.
I just think the Jewish conversation that's tough, right? Because rest in peace. Joe Lieberman from Connecticut. Recently passed
absolutely.
Away. He was a vice presidential candidate. Shapiro was the runner-up for the vice president this time, and I do think that the reason why he was the runner-up is because of the sensitivity of what's going on in the Middle East. I think it's just
a terrible situation.
Democrats should have taken Shapiro. I thought that was a mistake on their side.
It would have sunk them. They would have lost every young vote in this country, Democratic side, because there is such a social media movement and such a rebel movement. Yeah, but it's just these young kids don't think. They think that by supporting a cause that is boosted most likely by most of the people that are over in that world that are causing problems, they think that by supporting that's a great thing, and they feel like they're doing something with their lives, and they're not. What they're doing, and that's the difference. Jeff, you had mentioned over there, it's a touchy subject, and I just want to go back. This is why people love Donald Trump. Donald Trump talks about things. See, Donald Trump says the things that people want to say, but are afraid to say in their communities or to their constituents or to their friends and family. He's the guy that they can cling on to. And after a while, that's why you see all these people running around with red hats and they're saying, hey, F you. I got to think about myself, or I got to help my country, or I'm a nationalist, whatever it is. That is why they are emboldened right now, and they follow this guy to the death.
Well, the good, bad, or whatever. Let's just say that Trump wins. How does the Israel situation change, and how does the Ukraine situation change?
Jeff, right? How do you think Trump
affects that? Let's just say he wins. What happens a year into his office?
Do you think he jumps in, Jeff?
I think like he has the people around him. He's not going to make like the bold decision to. I think he will. I think because he'll say, this is what I'm doing, and that's what Trump does. I'm doing this, and this is what he does, right? So I think he will go back and establish with Israel and be the strong presence there. I don't know if that's going to help the peace talks there. I really don't. As far as Ukraine, he said too many things. I don't think he can walk back from. I don't think it helps that situation either. In my opinion, what I think it does is it helps draw a line as to where America is in both of those situations. But I don't know if it will if it will get the peace that people want.
Jeff, so if he's elected president, he goes in and all of a sudden within a 3-month period, there's a peace agreement between Israel and Hamas, and Ukraine war all of a sudden vanishes with handshakes at the border. Do you say he's one of the greatest presidents in the history of this country?
Yeah, give him all the credit. Give him all the credit in the world. But
absolutely,
could it happen?
Right.
I think he would go down. He would be down like a Bill Clinton kind of path, right? Like, because Bill Clinton had like the marks against his personal life and the things that happened against him.
Well, he didn't inhale.
That's not the personal life stuff I'm talking about, Steve.
I inhale.
Sorry. But and the reason I say no is because I believe the people that are seen like that bring a country together, and whether it's his fault or not, Donald Trump has not brought the country together, and it's too divisive for people to say that.
Agreed again, Jeff. Wouldn't that bring the country together? Wouldn't people eyes see? I think it wouldn't. I think people would still hate the guy, even if he did that to 2 different regions of the world. I think they would still hate him because they've been burned in their brains by media and by these outlets and by TikTok and by Facebook and people saying that, hey, hate the guy.
Well, listen, he's done some stupid things personally.
I agree. He's done some really stupid things, but I also think
you can't hate him.
2 things. I think you can have it like you can bring the country together. I think the country can come together, but I think that you could still hate Donald Trump.
You know what Donald Trump is? He's like the Marines. He's like the Marines. You go into boot camp, you're at Paris Island, and you are getting railroaded for the first 6 weeks. That Master Sergeant is you've seen what's the movie over there with in Paris Island? The guy's fantastic. Full Metal Jacket. Thank you so much. Right?
Yeah, I know.
Right?
I know.
See what that guy did, right? Trump is breaking you down, and then he's building you back up.
People said
Winston Churchill. You know, he led the British through World War II, right? And they fought back, and then literally a year later, the next election, he was run out of office, right? So he was the right guy. I think Trump is the right guy for what we need right now. It doesn't mean that Trump per se is the right guy. His philosophy is the right philosophy. But if you didn't have Winston Churchill at that time period, and you had Neville Chamberlain, okay, the world would be a totally different
We'd all be
place.
speaking German. We'd all be speaking German.
Yes, I would be dead probably. I wouldn't have been born, I should say.
Churchill was a buffoon to the English until they needed him. They needed a strong figure to come in and clean the shit up. And then he came in, he organized, he got the rest of the world involved, cleaned it up, won the war, and then they cracked on him again after he was done with it.
Correct.
All right, we have to sign off shortly. I want to get
small batch, single barrel bourbon.
Yeah, Frank's not allowed to drink that.
Frank, I need some.
I killed 700. I'm almost at 750 milliliters. I don't know what that is. That's European. But I know we drank a lot tonight. It's fantastic.
God. Jeffrey, the main issues in this election, obviously the border control, the economy, and there was a third I can't remember. Who do you think is the right candidate to handle these issues and at least start to bring us together? So hopefully by 2028, we can heal and be in the middle again.
And Frank Cristiano runs for president of the United States.
I would mold this country into the greatest country on the planet.
I know you would.
Well, we are, but this is what it is.
So I don't think I'm going to be the most popular on the podcast when I say this.
Okay.
But I also think it goes back to is that I think there's such a division in this country.
Yes.
That if Donald Trump were to win, I don't think there's going to be anything to bring the country together. And there may be factors that we don't know about. I think there's to that extent too. I think Kamala Harris has a chance, but I think the majority, at least Trump's base, has already made up their mind, right? And so, like, I don't think there's any recovery from that, right? And so that's why I point to the next election, right? Because
right.
think about this: if you keep going down the same path that the Democratic Party is going right now, inflation rising, all those things, and you have another 4 years of like what we just had, right? It's going to open the door wide open for the Republican and reset. And so my answer is that Donald Trump's not going to bring us together. Sorry, gentlemen, he's not. Maybe there's an exterior factor that could bring us together. I think Kamala Harris has more of a chance. I also think we're so divided as a country; it's going to be really hard to do.
And you think
we'll have 500 million new immigrants, and we will call ourselves Venezuela, a communist government.
Well, that's the only thing I worry about. But she said she's going to close the borders.
Didn't talk about the border tonight, Steve. I'm glad we didn't talk about the border because that is just a political. And you can go to it and say the Democrats brought a bill, to stop the border or to fix the border, whatever, and that Donald Trump said this to get it thrown out, right? But it took 3 years for that to come. It took a presidential election for that to come, and so it's just a mess. And
it is.
I just
Jeff,
like to have some stability.
Jeff, are we sending you your GOP ballot right now for the 2024 election?
I am.
He's not going to say no. He's not going to say no.
No, I hear what he's saying. He's 100% right.
No, listen. He is.
Trump is going to keep the country divided.
Yes.
Wait. So she's not going to keep the country divided.
Exactly.
She's going to bring the country together.
Exactly.
Listen,
how is she bringing the country together?
And I think she has a better chance than Trump.
A chance to bring it together than Trump.
I bet you if you asked her where all 50 states are, she couldn't place them correctly.
Stop it.
We're going to be in
Alaska.
We're going to be a 4-year holding pattern. Okay, let's just say Kamala wins.
What are we flying United here? We're in a 4-year holding pattern.
Wait a minute. I already proposed. Suppose Trump wins. Now I'm going to say if Kamala wins. All right, are we in a 4-year holding pattern? And then they decide whoever. Hey, 4 years is enough. We don't want her to run again in 2028.
No, I think
if she wins, she'll be in for 8 years. That's what I think will happen if she wins. 8 years.
What I think is if she wins, right, and you stay down the same path that is going right now, right, in 4 years, Party will pitch her as we have had the last 8 years of this and put Biden's 4 years and her years together.
Oh, I see.
That'll be the way for them to.
Yeah, but wait a minute. They want her now. All of a sudden, they want to give her Biden's years. They don't want to give her Biden's years.
Well, no, he's saying
she's not going to get blamed for Biden. She's not going to get blamed for Biden.
They'll count it against her.
What is she going to do different?
4 years, she will.
He hasn't done.
That will be racist if she gets blamed for that. There you go.
Nobody in this election is talking about policies. You know what I mean? Like what actual policies have we heard from either side?
But again, you got to use rationality. That's like you're storing cocaine in your house and the cops bust in like, oh, my wife doesn't know anything about this. It's just me. Bullshit.
Well, yeah, I didn't know what that.
She's part of it.
She's part of it. But she's not gonna. I think she's gonna. If she wins, I don't think she's gonna have any of Biden's baggage. I think that people are going to say, first of all, the media is just going to say that she's the greatest thing that sliced bread. You can't say that she's senile. You can't say, you could hide anything you want in the media, and she's going to come out, whether Republicans like myself dislike her or not. She's going to come out and she's going to have favorable ratings, whether they're favorable or not. The media is going to push that for 4 years, and when she comes up again, she will win again. Because if she wins now, when she didn't even get voted into the primary.
Listen, she's done nothing. There's one thing that you're not talking about that would derail that, right? And is the economy, right?
Right.
The economy. If the economy tanks, right, or the economy stays the way it is now, where people are reaching into their pockets more, right? Taxes, inflation, interest rates are up, right?
Huge. Yeah.
All they'll do is come out with more government programs and help and spend more money and give people more things to keep them placated. And you'll get this. You'll get the same. I mean, a Democrat could possibly win, and now a cheeseburger is 12, 13, 14, 15 bucks at McDonald's in New Jersey, and yet a Democrat could still win, because if you keep giving people, the opportunity to get help from the government, to continue to get things to keep them placated, to make them feel good in the moment, then you get a situation where they're going to vote that way. And the people who are getting affected, the guy who's going to the guy or gal who's going to work every single day, paying their bills, blue collar workers, they don't care. The Democrat Party does not care about those people. They do not care. They care about the uber elite who already have the money. Really? The uber elite already have the money. The people who they can give government programs to, who they know they can count on for the vote, and then certain demographic groups that they feel that they have in their hip pocket, whether those people have succeeded or not. They feel those people in their hip pocket so they can take advantage of them. And if you'll have 8 years. You'll have 8 years of Kamala.
You know what we haven't talked about right now that just came up today at 4 p.m.? RFK Jr. has thrown his support to Donald Trump.
That's right.
And now he will back him. And Friday he makes the announcement. So
is that good or bad?
Well, I don't know. Here's my theory on this, and it's nothing but positive for Trump. But here's the thing. So let's say the independent vote gets 5%, maybe 6%. That's what they keep saying. Does 3% go to Trump and 3% go to Kamala Harris because the 3% cannot vote for Donald Trump because they hate Donald Trump? That's why they were voting for RFK in the first place?
Right.
You know what I mean? I don't know how that helps them. Maybe it does. Maybe those supporters go over and say, hey, listen, I'm in the middle, but I'm more towards these policies. But again, as to Jeff's point, what policies? Give me some specifics. I want to know exactly how we're going to trim this. Not that we're just going to do the greatest or the largest or the bigliest. Yeah. You know what I mean? Give me something. Yeah. I've seen some of it, and some of it does make sense. But here's what I can do as a voter. I can look at 4 years of Donald Trump, and I can look at 3.5 years of what's happened now. Where do I vote? If I'm a smart voter, where do I vote? I swing my vote to 4 years of Donald Trump because I was in a better. Maybe maybe I felt insulted. Maybe I felt devalued a little. Maybe I didn't. It wasn't all warm and fuzzy. But you know what? I could buy things. I could pay for my kids.
No, you had a life. I get that.
I know the market was resurgence, but the market was down to nothing.
Although there was a jobs report
on the economy
that came out that wasn't favorable, I think.
But as Jeff said, I do agree.
Focusing just on economy, right? What about what about pro-life, pro-choice?
Doesn't matter to me.
Issue.
Doesn't matter to
you.
me. I'm pro-abortion. It doesn't bother me. I don't care if you want to have an abortion. Right, to me, you're right. You're speaking to maybe a minority in the issue, because certain people, they've taken sides and all that. I don't care. You need to have an abortion. Granted, I would like to see some restrictions on it. I don't want to see an 8-month abortion or a 9-month abortion, but if it's within the first trimester, I'm good for it, man. I understand an 18-year-old girl who has no financial resources, maybe no family backing, and no boyfriend or husband shouldn't have to go through life trying to struggle and scrape to support a child. But that's different because I know Dave's side, I know everybody's side, I know the Christian side, I know the religious side. I understand that, and I know you're waving at me. Go ahead, please.
Let me ask you a question here. How many women in this country, with the advancement of everything that's happening in women's sports, how many women are going to vote for Trump?
It's obviously a smaller segment. There's going to be a larger segment, especially younger women are going to vote Democratic because of, the courts, the Supreme Court, if anybody is to blame for a loss in this upcoming election for the Republican Party, it's the Supreme Court. Because they went ahead with that, and okay, listen, if you feel it's just, it's just. But the Supreme Court stuck it to the Republican Party because this vote is not popular among 65% of the country. Right.
No, I agree. All right.
But Jeff, just how did this? I just believe money is the only issue. When you come home at night, you may talk about abortion. You may talk about gender issues. You may talk about men and women's sports. You may talk about blue-haired people. But bottom line, at the end of the night, you're signing checks to pay your mortgage, feed your family, pay your car bill, whatever it may be. Maybe take a vacation, have something in the retirement plan. And everything is increasing in costs. Everything is costing us more. Everything is coming to the point now where we're looking at things as being not just costly, but ridiculous.
And that's why he's
right.
in
and what I would say
Florida, at least.
That is the most influential piece of the election is the economy, right? I would agree to that, right? There are the people where the other points matter to them. And what was could you finish your thought on the Supreme Court of how they screwed the Republican Party?
Yes. So and I know they had to bring it up at some point because it was on the table, but they rebrought the Roe versus Wade.
You're saying when they,
and I think when they pushed it back to the states and they took it away,
they pushed it to the states,
right? When they pushed it to the states, that is what set off the firestorm of voting switch.
But I also think that's ignorance as well. Because
what's ignorance?
People not understanding that Roe versus Wade wasn't abolished.
Correct.
Because they thought Roe versus Wade was, oh my God, we can't have abortion.
They do think it was. That's crazy. They do think it was abolished. You're right, Steve.
That's what they thought.
Actually think. Listen, I have relatives that were like, the Republicans got Roe versus Wade abolished. I'm like, what?
No,
they got pushed to the states. Now in a particular state, yeah. I mean, obviously, in some states, if their constituency and they kind of think that their constituency is going to vote for it to be abolished in that particular state, that is true. I mean, and we got into that kind of debate last time.
That's what the framers of the Constitution wanted. They wanted the states to govern themselves.
I think the woman vote issue and the economy issue are two legitimate. Like the economy, that's what Bill Clinton beat George Bush Sr. on, right? It's the economy, stupid. Like that was the bottom line. Was the economy was going in the wrong direction. That's how Bill Clinton came out of nowhere, right?
Obama too, I think.
Well, I think there were some other. Yes, the 2000. I think the crisis happened after. I don't. But Dave, it was brewing. Maybe it was brewing. I don't know.
Dave, to me, it's a simple issue. And the thing is, if you live in Texas, it's a shame I got to drive to Arizona if I'm a female to have an abortion. Why do I? The costs, the embarrassment almost.
But the people voted for it. But the people want it. The people voted for it.
But bottom line, I mean, you got to
live in Texas. I spent a lot of time in Texas. If you lived in Texas, you would know. Now, I'm not saying that there aren't people that want abortions. Obviously, there are, right? There are people in situations, and I always think the rape issue was a hazy issue. I mean, I agree with you on a lot of those kind of things. Like someone gets raped, incest, these kind of terrible things that happen to young girls or women. I don't know how you can stand in front of somebody and say they have to have that baby. So those are some of those extenuating things. Or we talked about last time, someone could potentially die. Like they're making that decision. But as far as the state rights thing, obviously the majority of people are voting for that to be in that. Otherwise it would be allowed in New Jersey. Where I live, obviously, it's not gonna. You're not gonna abolish abortion in New Jersey.
It's not gonna change in New York either.
Yeah, right. But that's like letting one state thrive and the other not. But I don't even care about that. That's why I'm saying the voting issue to me should be simplistic. I can slap a condom on and not worry about that, but I got to eat. If I don't have any money in my pocket, I can't eat. That's why the economy has to be the center focal issue of any voter that comes to see. People vote with their heart sometimes, or their conscience. Well, I can't eat conscience and I can't eat heart. Unless I'm at the butcher's and I order it. You know what I mean?
You can't pay with joy.
Yeah, right. You can't pay with joy. I told you the bank doesn't take it.
I think you're right about that.
So would
you say? I'm curious. I'm curious everybody's opinion. Would you say that the economy right now is in a good place, a bad place, or a rising or declining place?
Well, let me ask you something. Why is the economy out of control now? I'm going to throw. How much money are we spending in Ukraine? How much money are we spending over in Israel and all that? Is that necessary? I mean, the debate can go on about the price of fuel. When my son, who's in the banking business in Georgia, says, "Dad, every truck in this country has to have gas." You talk about food, Frank. How you get the food? It's trucked to where you work. All right.
Right.
So has the Middle East got us by the balls because they control the fuel in this country?
Well, we were oil independent under Trump, so we did this to ourselves. We voted in Biden. We had low gas prices, and now we have rising gas prices, and it has to do with the fact that we're relying on the Middle East for oil.
Everybody's worried about. So if we stop doing it with Ukraine and we quote mend some fences with Russia, is that going to help our fuel situation?
No way. No way.
Dave, I got to interject here. I'm in small business. I sell food for a living. I'll tell you right now why every price across the board costs more to eat. And that is the fight for $15. Yeah. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I think people need to make more money. I have no problem paying my hard-working employees more money. But the problem is this. If in the last 6 years in New York State, the minimum wage has gone from $10.50 to $15.
It's ridiculous. So you can't afford.
And it's going to go higher.
Your overhead is too high.
California just went from 20, and they're trying to get to 24.
Your overhead.
They're trying to get to 2050 or 2070 now, and they want to get to 24.
You can't make a profit.
So the problem, it's not even making a profit. It's that my cost of
your overhead
of overhead to work, my payroll has doubled in the last 6 years.
I know it has.
It's gone from $5-6 grand a week in my store to over $10,000 a week.
Yeah. So things, and then you add housing into the mix, right?
Right.
The rising cost of housing.
How do I make money up? I have to raise prices. Yeah. But bottom line, and then, if the flour company and the cheese company and the sauce company and whoever else I buy food from are having to pay increase in wages, they've got to raise their prices.
Exactly.
That's why the food in the store costs what it costs, and people are missing this.
Well, my thing with the whole oil, like we were
forget about COVID, right? What do we do when COVID hit? And where did all that money come from? Like in public schools,
you're right.
ESSA money, all of those stuff. Like, when we stopped, taking rent and those things, and then we sending out government checks. Like, and I'm not saying it wasn't at the time, right? But like nobody, the reaper hasn't come, or at least it hasn't been accounted for. You know what I mean?
No.
And we're still in that background.
We're still paying for it. Yeah. Yeah. No, people didn't pay rent for years and got away with it.
Right. So who makes up that money? Where do we make it? So bottom line,
we just print more.
That's why everything costs more.
That's why there's inflation.
I don't care what anybody says.
No, I agree.
You could say COVID. You could say oil overseas. You could say wars. You could say funding, budgets, whatever it is. It's the fight for 15. We've gone to the next level. Okay, because people at $8, $10, $15, whatever it is, the federal is still $7.25, which is a joke. But bottom line, the people at those lower levels have struggled. And they finally spoke, and they've unionized. And people in California, they've got unions for Starbucks, unions for food places. So bottom line, they see the unrest. So that's why the fight to 15. Great. We've gotten to 15, but how do you control costs? Because listen, I've got to absorb a $250,000 increase in my store for
New
payroll.
York State is.
So where do I make my money? I've got to pass on $250,000 a year to my buyers, my customers.
New York State is awful. For
but it's not just New York State. It's the rest of the country fighting the same way.
Right.
If you don't, okay, the minimum wage is 15 in New York State. Great. If you don't offer 17 starting,
you're not
getting anybody to even answer a phone or sell a slice of pizza, because that's what I do. That's my living. That's how I make my money. Right. So bottom line, the increase in that labor cost has gone so much and so fast. That's the problem. If they didn't, it's almost like anal sex. And I'm going to put it to you like this: if you edge in slowly, right, and you don't push too hard, it's okay. If you go full bore,
Ernie, I'm sorry,
you have problems. Ernie loves me. It's okay.
He does.
If you go full bore, it hurts, and it hurts right now. I can't pay it.
Jefferson
single barrel bourbon.
This is what's made him strong all night long, baby.
This has been the first episode of
you still got to go to work tomorrow.
I got to go to Republic. Sure, I got to pay higher wages.
I want to give Jeffrey just the last word here. We've had a great discussion about many number of issues. just the last word on any thoughts you have of some of the issues we talked about, the vice presidency, the DNC, Kamala, Trump. I mean, I'll give you the floor for a minute.
Yeah, first and foremost, I'm so glad that I kept my here the end of the show and the different analogies we made there. Thank you so much.
I told you I'm the voice of reason.
Wow.
But no, I will say this is these next couple of months are going to decide where the vote is. I'm interested to watch the debate, right?
Yeah.
Because you can't. It's going to be kind of hard to hide from issues on a debate, right? They're going to ask you a direct question, and you got to answer it. And if you hide from it, right? And if you hide from it, they're going to blow you up for it. So
you get exposed.
It's going to come, and we're going to find. Bottom line, at least my theme the whole night has been like, I just want to find somebody that can unite our country. And whoever it is, whoever the eventual winner is, can bring us together. So I can, that 4-year-old, that 7-year-old, that 9-year-old,
yeah, your kids.
I can say, hey,
yeah,
this is our commander in chief, and whatever he or she says,
Good correction, Jeff. Good correction.
We learn, right? But that we can get behind them and get back to being what we actually are, which is the United States of America. And we were born out of a concept of, as a voice, everybody has a way to make that American dream. And hopefully, whoever the political leader is in the future can see that and see what's happening and what's getting eroded away, whether it be through the economy, inflation, whether it be through just good old human decency, and get us back to being good to each other and being a place where we want to raise our kids and hang out with our teammates at.
Absolutely. And thank Jeffrey, because Jeffrey has served our country
absolutely
very well.
I couldn't even imagine
for
that
many years, and he played football while doing it.
No kidding. Well. So you served while playing?
Yeah. Yeah, he did.
It was actually pretty cool. Well, I did active duty first, and then when I came back, I was in the National Guard, and so I have some really close personal friends that are in the Guard that helped me through those times, and some great stories. And a true story, and I don't mean to take. UConn football actually saved me from going to the Iraq War, if you can believe that. My unit was getting ready to deploy. We were ready to go overseas, and they sent my platoon and my unit to a school to be trained. And we were playing Iowa State our senior year, and I reported to the school on Sunday. I was supposed to report on Saturday, but we played. My platoon sergeant told me to report on Sunday. When I got back from the game, I did. They said, "Hey, you can't start this school. You got to go back to your unit. You got to start when it starts." And every single person that was in that school, Iraq, and I, at the time was angry that I didn't get to go with my troops, but wow. So a story for another night. A lot of stories from that, but
and Jeff has been a huge support for me. He always checks on me.
Right.
He's been fantastic.
That's great.
I greatly appreciate it.
And for people that don't understand what service is or what combat duty is, I mean, God help you, because that's why it's not that's a scary thing.
But I don't know that he'll be jumping to want to come on the show again.
not after the reference that I just gave a couple minutes ago. But it is what it is. I speak the truth, Steve. I'm an honest person.
I don't doubt that.
You're going to get red, white, and blue from me when I talk.
Yeah, and not the dog.
But that's what America is, right? Like you should be able to sit on a podcast.
Yes.
And you have your opinions. I have my opinions.
And at the end of the day, we're all friends. Yes.
Exactly. We can make our decisions who we want and who we want to vote for, and still share a Jefferson bourbon at the end.
And absolutely,
Dave,
absolutely. Jefferson bourbon.
Woo! Dave, we talked about this last week. We showed that we could have a political discussion, talk about the issues, have arguments, listen to each other, agree, disagree, and then at the end of the night, laugh about it, shake hands, remain friends, and go home, right? And
because as long as you all vote for Trump, we're in good shape.
Because most people, if right or left, they end their friendships, they end their relationships, and it's sad that happens.
That's ridiculous. I you know what? That's great. That's great that you brought that point up. It's totally ridiculous. If
that's what happens.
If you're, I see that. I see families split and daughters can't talk to fathers because of certain issues. And all that. Listen, you have your choice.
Yes.
You have your right to believe in what you believe in. Obviously, you believe in family first, I hope, and you protect that sanctity first, and then move on from there.
Yes, I agree.
Amen.
So,
Amen.
This has been the first episode of many, I hope, of Rebel Republic.
I like it. Rebel Republic.
Rebel Republic.
We are part of something that will take part of nothing.
For the voice of reason, yes. Frankie C.
That is me. I'm glad that you gave me that moniker finally. Although, you know what? Where's my name? Oh, you don't have any names in anywhere. I just put everybody else's name.
Nobody has a name. It just says Rebel Republic.
Look at that.
Yeah, but they don't show on the big screen.
His name on the big screen.
I can't show it on the big screen.
What kind of respect is this?
I'm not a sound engineer. I'm not a sound engineer.
And you want your doggy style daycare. I'm not doing a doggy style daycare.
You don't have names though. How come our names aren't on there?
Because if I don't know how to do it, but if you put a banner, you can't display names.
Listen, Dave, he didn't know. He didn't know that the DNC and RNC conventions were 4-day events.
No, I didn't know that.
So what happened on that one day?
I didn't know that. I thought I swear to God, I thought it was just one day. No, Dave, if you know how to do
the host.
Jeff, Dave, you are going to have so many reels that you can make from this show, because I started the show talking about the DNC, and the first thing I did, I asked Jeff, what did you think of the first day of the DNC? And Jeff goes, Steve, it's day 4.
Yeah.
Or day 3 or whatever.
Yeah.
It's day 3.
Yeah. Welcome to Rebel Republic. We rebel against knowledge.
So that's how it started. So that definitely is going to be a reel. That's definitely going to be a reel. So Frank and Mr. Wells, we appreciate your participation. Wow. Jeffrey, I am so glad you came on as a guest. I always love having you on. Having you on. Love talking with you. And I always appreciate you checking in with me. Thank you for doing that.
Stay away from all food.
I'll talk with you. I'll talk with you afterwards, because I did get some good news from UConn that I'll share with you.
They finally gave him his diploma, Jeff.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, right.
It's because he had to pay all his parking fines. It's fine.
Thank you. I'm glad you remember that. Yep, I got ticketed every day. All right, for Rebel Republic, 97.9 Unity Radio. Wow. Ernie, I did the best I could. Remember, when life gives you lemons,
what do?
You don't make lemonade.
You are a fool for saying that. What do you do instead?
You take 2 oranges and you shove